Hello, hello, hello. Are we finally solving the technological difficulties that always exist?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, we're good. Sorry about the delay, everyone. Had some technological difficulties here. I'm going to be Primus alongside my compatriot here. Sit straight, 4 years block, 2 action of Overdrive League. We have Out of Mana taking on Roar. How we doing tonight, Sit straight?
So I'm pretty hyped. First off, right off the bat, I just want to talk about this Rek'Sai pick. I actually had to prep out some band strats, and Rek'Sai was pretty high at the top of that when you look at this OPGG. Now, get over it, noob. You're not wrong to say, hey, it's a Nocturne GG. Now, Nocturne is one of the top picks of the patch throughout every region, and I am so excited to see 2 junglers who just want to jump on each other and fight.
Yeah, definitely a very high skirmishing priority. Both of these junglers. Looking at what else are coming in here, we're seeing 2 of the top 80 carries in terms of priorities. I know it's pretty much a meme right now, but Lucian and Kai'Sa are one of the top, are 2 of the 80 carries that we still see getting picked down in that bottom lane because they're not crit reliant 80 carries. Lucian, we generally see things like either Bork into Black Cleaver or Estus Reaver into Black Cleaver, while Kai'Sa is primarily going towards the AP build, which he goes Rage Blade and Asher's Tooth, which is why those 2 champions are still viable in the meta.
Now, I'm actually a bit surprised here that Braum gets picked up and makes it through the draft, especially through the second rotation. For one thing, I think Braum would have been a better pick than Rek'Sai on the red side, but for another, definitely would have been a better pick than LeBlanc. Given Braum's synergy with both Kai'Sa and Lucian and them being the only 2 ADCs of the patch in, like, the meme world, but still, really, they're the only 2 ADPs of the patch. The Shen lock-in, though, is really nice as well. I think this protection is going to be enough for either the Nocturne or the Lucian. Lucian late game and Nocturne early game. He kind of acts as a delivery system for the Shen, and it can be devastating.
Yeah, the only real concern for the side of Out of Mana is they really lack any consistent form of wave clear on their composition here. LeBlanc and Lucian, not typically well known for their wave clear. However, the Dr. Mundo pick coming in for Drex up in the top lane is such a powerful pick currently on this patch that it's extremely difficult to deal with. But we see Spooder1 picking up the Darius up in that top lane to try to put Mundo as far behind as possible. Probably going to look to see Remzi on the Rex side cut up to that top lane pre-level 6 for that Mundo as much as possible to get the Darius ahead, because the thing is once Mundo hits 6, it's so difficult to actually secure kills on it.
Now, the only issue here with the Mundo and his priority in this game given here is, I think I'll just quote, I believe it's Papa Smithy said this in the BBQ game earlier today, where it's a Mundo's wet dream that he can just throw cleavers into these, bruisers who want to be right up in front of him. And that's really exactly what Mundo wants to do. The issue is when you look at the draft coming out of, is this RAR?
RAR's on the red side and Out of
so
Mana.
when you look at the draft coming out of RAR, so I don't know who the teams are. I just know Spooder's on RAR, I was pretty sure. But yeah, when you look at the draft coming through for them, Darius and Rek'Sai seem to be the only 2 who might end up being targets for the Mundo, and even then Rek'Sai really isn't. So they haven't exactly drafted that composition, which allows the Mundo to strive so strong in this meta.
However, my only counterpoint to that is the only person on the side of Roar who can actually effectively kill the Mundo, like, reliably, is going to be Tajiro on the Kai'Sa. Because Darius needs to get multiple stacks built up on his passive in order to get that massive true damage ulti in order to execute the Mundo. Orianna's not really renowned for tank killing. Rek'Sai not really renowned for tank killing. It's really going to be up to the Kai'Sa in most scenarios to really try to kill the Mundo. And if she's not able to do so, this Mundo is going to run wild, regardless of the fact it's not really the typical composition that we see Mundo succeed in.
It'll definitely be a skill matchup. As far as the Mundo's concerned, the Darius will be able to chip away at him with his true damage as long as someone's building a Morellonomicon or an Executioner's Calling. And this should be kind of communicated by Spooder Juan onto his team, right? He should be saying things like, yo, this Mundo is getting a CS lead on me. We're probably going to need an Executioner Calling sooner rather than later. But some teammates are afraid of that, and I can see that hurting them. But it's definitely going to be all up to Spooder to control the Mundo, and it's a different type of top lane matchup, I think is the way to put that.
Yeah, it's very much favored towards the side of the Darius. Mundo does always have the fallback pattern of just sitting at max range and throwing cleavers. It does hurt his ability to reliably terms of CS, but he does always have that as a fallback pattern. And
Well,
in
the health
mid-
loss. Like, damn, you throw cleavers for every CS you try to pick up, you're going to be out of health by the 4th wave.
Yeah, but you do also get a lot of HP back.
Yeah, you definitely do for the yawn hit. I'll be really excited to see the top lane matchup. It depends how much excitement we get up there, because we definitely see times where these tanks just get up into the top lane and they don't want to fight each other, even though we have the Mundo and the Darius that, like, you'd think they want to be on top of each other the whole time, just too afraid to fight.
Well, it's not. It's more the Mundo more than anything. Like, Darius is always up for a scrap up in that top lane. It's more of Mundo really wants to try to get some levels under his belt, get to that level 6, because that's when he really has that buffer and safety zone to really operate. It is always risky into the Darius, as we mentioned, the amount of true damage that comes out of him up in that top lane, as we're going to be cranking out the spectator delay and getting onto the Rift momentarily here. I do have to ask you, Sit, who do you favor going into the game here? Do you favor Out of Mana, which is on the blue, favor Roar in terms of team composition?
So that's a loaded question when you end it there in terms of team composition, because it's like you want me to say mean things about somebody. This is the best way I could put this. I think that Out of Mana has outdrafted Roar. I really do. Just off of face value, they can execute on their composition, and Roar needs to react, is kind of the way that I see it. And that's never the position you want to be in. The issue is, I think Roar is going to react right. I think Out of Mana is going to make macro mistakes, given that they're a newer team into the league that probably hasn't gained up their synergy much. And I think Roar will just end up taking this on virtue of having been together for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the game plays out. Like, I wasn't trying to get you to say one team failed at the draft or anything. I just kind of wanted your honest opinion.
Oh, it always means one team failed. Now, also,
one team just did a better job than the other. Like, that's
totally fair to say. Doki's a little upset in the chat because his team's not got his banners up there. But he also couldn't figure out that his team was the one to ban Zach and Sejuani, so I don't know how much he gets to have the claim there.
Yeah, the amount of bans towards the tank junglers was a little bit suspicious coming in, because it's just like, especially in these lower elo in terms of brackets, you really see a lot more tank junglers, as we're going to see a 5-man stack coming in from the side of Out of Mana. Could try to make a play here, though it is always risky trying to make a play into a team which has a Braum at the level 1, but they do have Shen, which does have the flash taunt. They're going to go for, and they're going to put the ward down. Cleaver is going to land. Silent Blue Jeff is going to be little late on the top, but does force the flash out of Nezumi.
So now that flash is big. We're really going to want to track this. Let's not forget that this is the Braum, right? Braum's flash forward Q is going to slow and then allow the target to be stunned in 3 hits. Braum can flash forward to get his W so he can E. Braum can also just flash to get an E range if his W's down. Like, Braum's flash is something that keeps Kai'Sa alive more often than not, or ends up converting into a kill. And losing it right there is, we're going to see an impact. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah, it's going to be more pronounced if the fact that Dookie and Silent Blue Death are able to get to this bot lane early and shove in order to get that early priority on that level 2 and look to set up an all-in with the taunt and the amount of damage coming out of the Lucian at the level 2. That's going to be kind of the crux point, because I don't find it terribly likely that we're going to see a very early game coming out of a Nocturne. Not that it's not possible.
I'm actually a Nocturne meme. It definitely happens, but it's normally a mistake of the other team when that happens. I tend to describe it as seeing the other team in a position where they're acting like I don't have a jungler, and that's the only time you can really dive in on a Nocturne and just, like, out of virtue of your E, get a gank off. But on this name over here, Silent Blue Death, well, we want to interpret what this is, because I think it's the ocean. I think they're drowning.
I would have to go with that. I actually know him through other casting experience. Because I cast for Compete League, he's been a long player of Compete League, even though his team no longer participates in Compete League.
No one participates in Compete League right now.
This is also true. But we've been around for quite a while, and it's kind of a meme with Out of Mana, because they're sometimes a little salty, hence their name of CL sucks. But we're not going to spend any more time talking about that. We're getting a little bit of trade in the mid lane, but Omega Squad Fitz burning a lot of mana, gets a fair bit of a trade off onto Heartshaker, as we are going to see a gank in the top lane. Coach Math is only level 2. Is going to burn the flash of Spooter Juan, though, so overall a successful gank coming in from the Nocturne.
Yeah, that's really smart of him. If Nocturne actually wants to do that in the future, what you do is you take 2 of the wolves, and you can get your level 3 by the time you get that gank off. Because Darius showed really early what he was going to do to this Mundo if you watch the wave. But, like, I don't know, it's those little things. But we're going to get the gank on now.
Yeah, we do have Ramsey coming over the wall. Is going to get the knock-up onto Drax. Does burn the flash immediately. So essentially, either of these top laners get ganked anytime in the near future, they're probably dying, with neither of them having flash available until about the 8-minute 30-second mark.
Yeah, speaking of flashes, Braum is a little over halfway done on that cooldown on his. Still haven't seen it become impactful, but I'm really hoping to see Lucian continue this poke and shove on them where you just know you're never going to be able to stop something.
Yeah, but despite the fact that they do have the push priority, he is falling a little bit behind in terms of CS, which is a bit concerning because you really want to keep that tempo advantage and deny the enemy laner CS rather than you yourself falling behind. It is still early on in the lane here, and I think...
Oh, he just missed a cannon because of the Shen.
Rip.
And that's another miss. My God.
Omega Squad Fish blows the last of his mana pool, trying to get a trade off onto Heartshaker. Heartshaker should be able to zone him off and force him into an early back here. A little bit questionable play coming in from Omega Squad Fizz, trying to continue to force these plays in this mid lane, despite the fact he has such low mana. But Drax is staying extremely low on HP. They're easily setting up for a potential dive.
Ooh. So Rek'Sai is roaming to the top side now. Mundo's been really greedy, deciding to wait for his level 6 before he TPs, but he looks like he's going to back and TP anyway because he's been hurt enough. But this actually allowed Rek'Sai into the jungle. I mean, she doesn't get anything, but eventually this is going to become costly when the mid and top lane are being shoved in.
Yeah, it really cedes tempo advantage for the side of Ramsey. He's able to control the pace of the game in terms of the top half of the map, because considering we're getting close to that second buff respawn, considering the path that Coach Maths take, which is buff to buff into Scuttle, you're going to have that blue buff available around the 7:30, 7:45 mark. We can easily see him set up, that is Ramsey, set up for a blue buff invade, considering both his mid lane and top lane are going to have push priority for the foreseeable future. And I think Silent Blue Jeff should be playing far more aggressively.
Definitely on the Shen. I mean, just going in for the taunt isn't what is meant by aggressive, but it looks like we do get the fight.
Yeah, we do get a fair bit of a trade. Q is going to land. Luduki is going to have to flash away. Silent Blue Death is going to get stunned up. Renzi is coming in on the flank. He's trying to get away. Flash, knock up, exhaust onto Silent Blue Death. Getting first blood with the Q coming in from those. However, Coach Math is here trying to do what he can, trying to get the kill. However, it's not able to secure the kill onto Trigger. Getting knocked up. Stunned. Is getting bursted down by the bite coming in from Renzi. That's a 2 for 0. Nice sidestep from Dookie. That W coming in from Kaisa might have been enough damage to kill, but a little bit of a misplay coming in from the bot lane of
So while that was all going on, what we got was a little sight of the mid lane there. And it looks like LeBlanc is 1 AP item away from being able to efficiently bully out the Orianna and kill her, which is a really important spike for her. She's now dealing somewhere around like a quarter of her HP with her QW combo, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, thereabouts is going to land the chain.
And that's calculated, but not right.
Yeah, got a little too close to the tower. Needed one more Q coming off cooldown in order to secure that kill. But it is going to force a base out of the Orianna, which gives a favorable base timing for Squad, which means he can get closer to what I assume is going to be a first side in Luden's Echo coming in. It could still be that Hextech Gunblade that did rise to prominence a couple patches ago. It just kind of depends on the build path he wants to go for on this LeBlanc.
So now this is a big Scuttle Crab here for Nocturne. This is going to be his level 6 right here. Picking this up is crucial. I'm not saying he won't. It looks like everything points to, like, you know, if I was a Magic 8 Ball and I shook it, it'd say all signs point to yes. The real question is, does he get this gank off bot? And it looks like they're going to get the TP out or the recall just in time.
Yeah, that he's not quite able to immediately transition to that. If I was Coach Maths on this Nocturne, I would definitely look to try to set up a play in the mid lane because the Orianna still does not have flash available. You've been seeing Omega going in so aggressively on this LeBlanc, so you should really try to play around that in order to facilitate LeBlanc getting off the gen, as we are going to see a dive in the top lane. Suitor's eating a lot of damage, however, there's a lot of damage going. Flash ult's not going to be enough damage. However, the Rek'Sai ultimate is going to be enough to secure the kill on the backside, but we do have the Paranoia pop going in onto Renzi. Misses the Q. The Fear is going to come in, is going to allow him to chase down and secure the 1-for-1 trade in the end.
A little disappointed that LeBlanc doesn't follow all the way up there. I wanted to play Whack-A-Mole and see which bush she chose. Smart, though, to take the safe way back to lane. But while that's happening, the bot lane's getting shoved in, and Kai'Sa's going to get some healthy tower damage, having finally finished her recursive bow and her pickaxe.
Yeah, still sitting at about 1,000 gold needed. Omega Squad is going to prop his electrocute, but giving up CS under tower, I don't know if that trade was actually worth it in the long run. But we'll have to wait and see. Kai'Sa needs about 1,000 gold before she completes her item, and I think Dookie is rushing Essence Reaver here, which I'm not the biggest of fan of, just because I think Blade of the Rune King is just much more consistent in terms of a starting item. But Essence Reaver is still quite a strong item on Lucian. Can't deny that.
No, I definitely agree. You take Blade of the Ruin King when there's a Braum in the lane, just because you have a tank that you're going to be able to use those stats on, right?
And Silent Blue Death's going to get immediately bursted out by Chijaru and Nezumi. Culling just goes into the wall, unfortunately. Coach Matt's a little bit late here to try to keep his support alive. And Nezumi and Chijaru are really controlling the pace of this lane.
Definitely controlling the pace here. The CS, though, is what we're definitely going to be paying attention to. Right now, the lead's been pretty exploded by RAR. But the CS is definitely helping them out a bit. They're up by nearly 10 in every lane. That's going to be the low.
Coming in on the bottom lane. Nice two-man taunt. Can they secure the damage? No, the exhaust comes out, keeping Chijaru alive. We have another dive up in the top side of the map. As on the bottom side, Little Dookie does fall. So Shen ult being burned to little effectiveness. And that's really not what you want to be seeing out of the Shen pick, who really needs that first ultimate to come through clutch.
Yeah, especially having waited that long and not using in conjunction with the Nocturne ultimate, which is up in, I can't actually see the cooldown, but it looks something like 20 seconds.
Yeah,
definitely that's the synergy you want to use. I don't know. It's a comp that my team actually plays. Not that any of you should ban that against the Red Tide, like, I don't know, Coach Steve when we played against Royal Wolves in 30 minutes. But
please, senpais.
Yo, I'm sorry. We're 0-3 and I still gotta throw out shade. I got a problem.
Hey, I've been in coaching shoes before. I've been in players' shoes before. I've thrown more checks than my butt can cash, so I know exactly what you're going through here. But not all is lost. 4 out of mana. You do have a fair bit of farm onto Little Dookie. Mega Squad's doing decently well in the middle lane. The Mundo, while off to a struggle start, is still a Mundo, does still have a lot of potential available. You have the Nocturne ulti to try to facilitate playmaking, but this Kai'Sa is steadily getting out of control.
This Drake fight's about to be really interesting here with the Ward in the pit and Nocturne having just taken half his health and damage just to the Drake alone.
Yes, we are going to have a force off onto the bot lane of from Nezumi and Steer. Excuse me. As we're having a little bit of a trade up in the top lane, trying to make sure neither of these Spoot or Juan does have a teleport available. And Drex obviously cannot
has no
stop it.
CC, yeah.
Yeah, and Drex can do absolutely nothing to stop it. And Spoot or Juan is going to go in, has the Conqueror, should be able to get lethal here off the ulti, but doesn't actually able to get into range, unfortunately, here. So Drex going to heal back up, getting back up to roughly around 60% HP up in that top lane, allowing them to stick around. But one more rotation coming out of Scooter should probably be a kill. And that's a dead mid laner. Feels bad, but unfortunately the tempo advantage that Omega Star was able to get out early has started swinging in the favor of the Orianna.
Is the darkness coming?
Yeah,
Where's my nightmare?
Unfortunately, Mavs decided that going into a 2-0 into Kai'Sa was a bad idea.
Man, it's not like she deals damage to people that are really close to her.
No, not at all. Not at all. So
yeah, that's actually going to be the tower.
Yeah, that's 100% going to be first Tower Blood going over to the side of Roar. Should be a very easy transition into that Ocean Drake as well. Not the ideal timing on that Ocean Drake. I kind of say the ideal timing on that is like pre-12 minutes or so. Because outside, once you get past that point in the game, you're not getting maximum effectiveness out of it unless you're in a siege scenario. Ooh, we are going to have a little bit of play. Ramsey getting burst onto Coach Mass, but is not able to finish off the kill. Jajaro coming in with the killer instinct. Shen ultimate coming in, trying to buy more time for Coach Mass, but no, it is not enough. Dookie flashing forward, trying to get on Jajaro. Dude is going to be able to secure the kill. So much damage going in onto Ramsey. Science Blue Death trying to do what he can, but is not able to go through the CDC. We do have a Mega Squad rotating down, is not able to get into range for more damage. Little Dookie does not have the range, so he dashes forward, but the knockup and burst from Ramsey is able to secure the kill back. Rek'Sai is a little bit scary.
Yeah, you have to know this Rek'Sai is scary. One look at the OPGG and you know. They know something about Rek'Sai that I don't.
Well, he also has a full Tiamat.
Yeah, it definitely helps a bit, especially with that warrior enchantment. Now building a phage too. Although notice, kids, he's picking up a control ward.
Yes, control wards win games, 100% confirmed. If you don't believe me, just ask LCS people. They'll always tell you control wards are the most important, unless you're break shit. Just kidding. But right now, currently at the status of the game, we have Roar up to about a 5,500 gold lead. They're getting very close to forcing both the top and mid lane towers down. Should be looking to secure that probably within the next 3 minutes or so. We have Rift Herald on the table. I would like to see Ramsey make his way over, secure that, just to keep his team on the front foot in terms of tempo advantage, because right now his team is extremely strong.
Yeah, definitely extremely strong. Right now, the CS alone is going to be damning, but when you put a tower and kills on top of that... Sorry, we're getting engaged from Nocturne.
Yeah, Coach Maps going in with the Paranoia is able to finish off a kill with the help of Drexceptor on that top lane, but that is at the cost of the aforementioned Ocean Drake. Took a little bit longer for them to start that up here, but do get a little bit of gold back onto Drex, allowing him to get back into the game.
What?
The culling is going to clear about half that wave out, but it's not going to be enough, as the tier 1 in mid is still going to fall for Roar, and it's up to a 6,000 gold lead for them coming in. We have Scooter TPing up back up into that top lane. We're probably going to see a rotation for that Rift Herald here, but it looks like they're trying to seal away the blue buff.
That control ward, that's unfortunate. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta place those better, kids.
That's a 10 out of 10 control ward placement right there. 10 out of 10. Ooh, but we do have an engage coming in. Nice! Glacial Fisher coming in, Silent Blue Death. Immediately bursted down. Drex coming in with the teleport. Does not have Masochism available. He's a very, very squishy Mundo. There's too much damage coming in. 5-stack coming in from Spooter, getting the kill on the backside. Meta Squad Fence getting stunned up by the concussive bulls. Has to flash out, but there's just too much damage. Double kill over to Spooter. And another kill going over to Jaro on the backside out of the Killer Instinct. That should be a play for Herald or top tower.
Yeah, so it seems like this is always starting off with a Braum Glacial Fissure, and then all hell just breaks loose, and RAR does exactly what their comp is designed for. I'm not exactly sure what the counterplay is here if you're out of mana, except for to try to blow the Glacial Fizzler early by engaging on whoever Braum's protecting. But I just have this feeling that Nazumi's going to stay on point and just use those for the primary engage.
Well, my bigger concern is the fact that we have an on-hit Nocturne coming in. That's my bigger concern at the moment.
Yeah, you don't build that. You also don't build press the attack, actually. It's electrocute or lethal tempo.
Yeah, most professional junglers go for that lethal tempo just because you're using that to help stick to your target and finish off the kill after you alt Q onto them. So that's the primary reason that we are seeing that come through. Plus the fact that your Q actually gives you a bunch of passive AD for sitting on the trail.
Yeah, and they've upped it by like 10 in the last couple of patches. It's been pretty ridiculous the way they've been just buffing Nocturne repeatedly.
Yeah, I think it's, once it's max rank, it's like 60, 80 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. It's like a full BF sword, essentially, when you get it. The only issue I have with going lethal tempo is it's not good for solo queue. It's only really good in the team environment where you have a Shen or a Galio, something to protect the Nocturne when he dives in. Because what's so crucial is if Nocturne doesn't have that, he has to just like dive on and kill people because no one's going to save him. But we have a fight again.
Yeah, we are going to have engage onto Little Dookie. Drex is sitting in the middle of the team, trying to be that big beefy tank, but there's too much damage coming in from Tajaro on the backside. Spooter getting another kill with the ultimate. Double kill over Tajaro. Knockup's going to land onto Dookie. Unfortunately, Dookie gets another gray screen in this game as another clutch ultimate comes in from Nezumi. We're going to see the Rift Tower getting dropped into the mid lane. This could potentially be the base being broken for Out of Mana.
Yeah, at this point, Out of Mana must be confused and think that they like reworked the Rift or something into a black and white map because they haven't seen the game in color in a while.
Not really anyone on their team's been seeing the game in color very much this game. Let's be perfectly honest here.
Well, we're back up and everyone's seeing in color one more time. We'll see if their fight after this inhibitor changes that.
Unfortunately,
and it looks like Shelly won't dance. Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, Shelly does not get to dance, but that is an inhibitor down at 1940 for the side of War, and this has just been a very, very excellent, well-played game coming in from the side of War, from pretty much top to bottom. They had the tempo advantage from laning phase in that. Outside of mid lane had a couple scary moments early on, but outside of that, it's been pretty much tempo advantage favoring War as Coach Mass is out of position, eating so much damage. Taunt does come in, but unfortunately, Silent Blue Death gets the guillotine coming in on the backside, and Chijaro secures the kill with the killer instinct on the backside.
Yeah, it's well, first off, shout out to the scoreline 420 to all my smokers out there. That's what I'm really here for. I pay attention to the important shit going on. Actually, what's the next Drake? Do we know here? Yeah, so it's another Ocean Drake. This is where your comments on the Ocean Drake start to wane away as you go from 4% of your missing health and mana to 8 all the way up until, I believe it's 14, right?
Last rank is 12%.
12%, yeah. So just it increases by 4% every time, really easy. But that gets really big really quickly. Once you reach 8, that's sustained where LeBlanc has to burst you out twice now, where previously she had to do it once, and then her team could have came in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I was speaking primarily towards just a single Ocean Drake, but you are right. Once you get that second Ocean Drake, it does make things a lot easier as you get to see the PvE environment in the mid lane from Omega and Silent Blue Death. And unfortunately, I think the minions are currently winning that PvE. Drex is going to be Pop the Masochism, is going to be able to run away here, but can complete Visor Control in the blue jungle and around Baron coming in from Roar, and they could honestly start that at any time.
Yeah, especially with Baron not dealing as much damage as it used to. I think this is something that a lot of teams are faltering on, and people in solo queue, where they're just not aware of how weak Baron actually is right now in terms of damage dealt. Like, it's hard to kill. He's tanky, but not much else. This will definitely be fixed, and if not the next patch, the patch after that. So, like, I'd abuse that if I were you by now. And it looks like they are.
Yeah, we are going to have the Paranoia come in, but it is rather early. Baron's still around 5k HP. He's just going to get immediately bursted down.
I'm sorry, Coach Math is speeding. That's the second time he's used the ultimate without diving in. This is
well, speaking of diving in, Chijaro has no issues doing so, securing a double kill on the back side of that. That should be the end of the game here momentarily. They have super minions in the base, and I don't think there is enough wave clear for Out of Mana. We already have one Nexus turret down, as it's going to be about a 23-minute game coming in from the side of Roar, and GG's coming out from both teams.
Damn, nice job by the Oriana to tank up that laser at the end too. Got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, I had to boost those damage taken stacks so his top laner doesn't feel so bad for taking so much damage. I'm just kidding here, but
Exactly.
but all in all, a very well played and very solid performance coming in from the side of Roar. There really wasn't any massive miscues from pretty much anyone on the team, other than maybe just a couple times where they got caught out. But they played their champions very well. They played around the initiations coming in from Nezumi, who was on point multiple times with those initiations. Remzi had a very strong performance on the Rek'Sai. Is there anything else that jumped out of you from either team in that first game?
I think the prediction just kind of went down exactly like you could have expected it. Rogers played a better game. I mean, there really isn't much you can comment on here. We definitely saw a lot out of Little Dookie. You got to give him credit, especially for what was going on around him. Coach Maths, I don't know why you were feeding at the end there, buddy, but I probably would have been too, so I can't blame you too much, especially when you're just trying to carry your team and the Shem won't even ult you. Yeah, I feel like that's it. Although I got a game to go prepare for, so I hope Coach Steve is ready. We gonna go fuck up the Royal Wolves.
Yes, best of luck to you. And we will be taking a short break here. We will be back hopefully soon with the next game. Please stay tuned.
Oh, wait, what?
And
Oh, wait, they can hear
welcome
me
back.
now? Oh, no.
And- Are we good?
Yes, go.
Are we?
no.
Welcome, everyone. We are back for the last game here of the night at OverDrive League. I am Primus, joined by a couple other people who will introduce themselves here in a moment. But our stream game here for you guys is the Red Tide taking on Royal Wolves. Took me a second. I had to remember. I'm forgetful. It's okay. But alongside me, we have my co-casters. Introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hello. His name is apparently Hello. He doesn't actually have a name. His just
Yes.
Hello.
So my name is Phil, and not over there is Blitz. Yeah, that's Blitz over there, the one that was laughing, and I'm Phil. So we're gonna be here looking at this game. Royal Wolves is back in the split they played last season. I think the 4 out of 5 members from last split, Promises, Bliss, Spike, and Steve, all on the same roster. We saw them last split on Royal Wolves as well. Bliss was on a different team, but Royal Wolves were the victors of last split. So looks like Steve and his team are looking to kind of take home the gold again by starting this season off strong.
All right, I'd like to make a quick note. I saw Promises, and I, for some reason, thought that his name said penises. So this is gonna be great.
I mean, okay, so Royal Wolves not starting out too strong on the split. The 1-1 currently right now, and also, if you do not notice, Red Tides lose 2 bans for using an E-sub. That is going to be shown here, but otherwise, bans are going to be kind of typical. Owen and Mundo off the table. 2 very strong top laners, though Irelia is still on the table.
What?
Yeah, nothing too unexpected in terms of bans. Things like Aurelia, Singe. Don't know how I feel about the first pick, Shen. Kais is on the table, Lucian's on the table. Things like Zoe in the mid lane are on the table, Xin Zhao. There's a lot of picks on the table here, considering the fact that the Red Tide only got 1 ban here, and there's that aforementioned Lucian.
Yeah, Lucian's a very strong laner right now, even though there are some other 80 carries still on the table. Kaisa and Israel come to mind, but that Shen being a pretty high priority today. We've seen it already once in earlier today in our second game of today, but now being picked up by Demon Jack. So,
Yo, was that a Nocturne pick?
it looks.
It can
like,
only go better than Math,
Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, it looks like Henny and Ho is taking his best Maths impression, gonna be choosing that Nocturne, but actually showing Maths how to play the champion. So, giving a little bit of respect to the last game we just saw.
Yeah, I do like the Lulu pick here coming in to either buff up the Nocturne or potentially buff up the Kaisa or the other 80 or whoever they decide to put in the bottom bot carry position here. I like Lucian Braun, pretty much a bot lane as old as time in terms of League of Legends experience. Been pretty much strong ever since Braum got released. Swain's an interesting pick because we haven't been seeing a lot of him. He's kind of fallen down in terms of priority list, in terms of mid lane and top lane, but he's still quite a strong champion.
Yeah, definitely. As we're reaching the second ban phase, I do think Royal Wolves are going to be banning one of the Kaisa that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Probably going to be banning out maybe Israel, another 80 carry since the support is already picked. Or they could try to change it up a little bit, go towards blue it, looking for those mid lane bans, but Swain is already locked in, so Blue Dead already has the counter pick, so.
Unless it ends up being a Lulu mid, which has been something we've been seeing rising to priority, but given the Zoe ban, it looks like they're expecting that to be a top lane Swain.
Yeah. I've seen Spike play Swain top a few times. He's pretty good at it, but otherwise, I don't know too much about Phantasma, but he might be playing the Swain too, so it is a flex pick for Royal Wolves. Otherwise, they wouldn't be banning out these mid laners. Looks like Blue Dit is also pretty good at the Lux, as that's taken away from him.
Yeah, Lux is one of those things where, like, you can always make the argument that you can play her regardless at any state of the mana just because of the amount of utility within her kit, the amount of burst potential she has available to her, kind of makes her always at least a semi-decent pick to look at here. But we still have a couple picks here. I would expect to see a jungler pick coming in from the side of Royal Wolves. That way they can hide their flex pick of the Swain to the end here. And it looks like they're going to go with just that, locking in the Trundle here more than likely.
Yeah, Trundle's a very strong pick. So Graves is okay. Never mind. They're going to lock in the Trundle, but it is going to be very strong for that Nocturne. I mean, I don't think Nocturne can duel the Trundle very early, though, with I think it's Lethal Tempo being taken on Nocturne. The dueling potential might be in favor of Nocturne. I haven't seen this matchup too much, so we'll have to see how both junglers play out. Otherwise, we are going to see the AD carry being picked up for Red Tide right here. It's going to be the Jinx, who's been rising in popularity, especially with the Lulu buffing the Jinx, with Lethal Tempo being taken on Jinx. It's going to be very strong.
Yeah, Jinx is a champion that can provide a lot of damage in the late game. They've got a lot of protection for her as well with the Lulu, but the biggest concern that I have is if they can actually survive the laning phase into a Lucian Braum and potentially a Galio in the mid lane for Phantasma. That's going to be a lot of party in the bot lane, and Jinx is not renowned for her mobility.
Yeah, definitely. She might be getting caught out with all that CC, Trundle, Pillar, Swain, Never Move, and even Galio's entire face. So otherwise, this Arctic Shot's going to have a pretty unfortunate time trying to weave her way around these team fights, but it is very strong. Especially, she is a very good tank killer, being able to outrun them once she starts getting the resets, get excited, but might have a little bit of trouble against this lane Lucian Bomb, very strong and very all in, kind of just burst damage.
It looks like that they're I think it's Royal's yeah, it's Royal Wolf, sorry. It looks like they're going for a much more team fight based build rather than catching out and skirmishing. Just judging from their picks though, especially running Galio and Lucian. Just trying to kind of corral the opponent into one little spot and just blast them.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. I mean, you can look at all the AoE, Swain, Galio, really being able to do a lot of damage, but still being able to tank a lot of it. Trundle being able to sap the stats coming out from mainly Demon Jack and maybe even Nocturne for an extension. But as these kind of summon souls all locked in, we do see some interesting adaptations from either side. Phantasma taking the cleanse, Blue taking the barrier, and Ignite versus Exhaust in the support bot lane. So very aggressive on some sides while very kind of defensive, which is really interesting to watch.
I would slightly disagree with you. This team does have a lot of collapse potential with the Galio in the mid lane, so it's not like they can't necessarily skirmish, but it is much more team fight centric. My only real concern is they don't really have a true setup for the Galio ultimate coming in from their team. Like, you don't really have that big setup initiation like the infamous Jarvan Galio combo, the Camille Galio combo. Like, you don't really have that same level of setup potential coming in from the side of Royal Wolves that you traditionally see when you draft the Galio in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I actually do think it's more defensive, especially when you think of the comp on the other side of Red Tide. Nocturne already trying to dive in. Galio is more of a preventive measure, trying to keep his carriers alive, the Swain and the Lucian, being able to give them invulnerabilities. And even Bliss, if you count that, if Bliss is running in with the Pillar and Frozen Domain, right, he can slow them while Phantasma just ults him and then just get the ulti off with the Trundle's Pillar. Especially if you're fighting in the jungle, right, in the small place where the Pillar can cut off exits, it's actually not that bad. But I can kind of see where you're coming from, where there's no reliable CC, nothing to kind of trap the players. But it is kind of the creativity coming out from Royal Wolves as a whole and just Phantasma's ults.
And I mean, you do have the Braum initiation, so you do still have some AoE setup. Like, the Braum can leap forward onto the Trundle, go in with the Glacial Fissure. So there is still some semblance of a setup potential coming in, using that to set up plays coming in. So it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility here, but I think looking at the two compositions on paper, I have to favor Royal Wolves just because I don't think Jinx is going to be given the necessarily time in order to scale.
I'd like to note that Red Tide, they've got actually some pretty strong global pressure with running Shen and Nocturne. Nocturne is able to effectively gank from quite a ways across the map using his ult and cause just all sorts of havoc, usually on Lucian, is what I'd assume. And Shen is able to stop any burst damage coming to Jinx, if that can even happen. Or
Yeah.
even Ahri.
Yeah, and that is a pretty infamous combo, the Paranoia plus Stand United. While the Paranoia is going through, you proc Stand United, you just dive in with 2 members, and very strong combo, definitely one of those things where you can't see it coming, literally. But, I mean, that's probably what we're going to be looking at. Maybe even they might be looking to go towards Phantasma in the mid lane. Galio is more of a mage, magic resist mage, instead of an armor, so especially with Nocturne being more of an AD-focused champion, probably will die very quickly.
I mean, he did take the cleanse.
Yeah.
Does have Aftershock as his rune of choice, so he's still going to be fairly tanky in that mid lane. Something we should note, though, is the Paranoia will inhibit the ability for Phantasma and Spike to try to counter collapse with their plays, because the Paranoia does inhibit the ability to use teleports or the hero's entrance in this case. So they do have a little bit of an advantage if they can play around that window of time, that 6 seconds of darkness coming in when Henny chooses to go in with that Paranoia. But I just think that the tempo advantage is just going to favor Royal Wolves here. I mean, yes, there is a lot of collapse and mobility potential on both teams' sides, but I just don't think the current status of the meta really favors a composition that Red Tide have drafted.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there. The fact that Royal Wolves comp seems a little bit more well-rounded. They have the damage, they have the tankiness, and they kind of have just the CC in general too. While Red Tide are kind of just focusing more on just being chaotic, kind of running everywhere. Nocturne diving in, Shen stand uniting on somebody. Jinx is just trying to get the resets, cleaning up after everyone has dived in. Very chaotic, but I mean, if the players of Red Tide are able to execute it correctly, or I mean, kind of have more mechanical skill by themselves, more kind of just self skill or individual skill, that's what I'm going for. They might be able to they might be able to get an advantage in this game, at least, especially with the legendary Cutie Pie on the team.
I highly doubt that is the real Cutie Pie. I think we need to talk to Michael Santana to confirm the fact that he is actually not a silver scrub like us monkeys here, pretending like we can guess League of Legends here.
It's just a support main Smurf.
It is a plan.
Cutie's got a pretty interesting brand, to say the least, so you never really know. But something that we do need to take note of is the right keystone choice coming in from Henny. Rather than the last game, they press the attack. We're seeing the lethal tempo coming in from Henny, which does fit a little bit more with the status quo in terms of the meta here. But looking at these two team compositions, I think the early tempo advantage has to go over the Royal Wolves.
I would say that depending on where you look, I think the top side of the map is in favor of Red Tides, because I actually do think that Ahri and Shen can do much more than Swain Galio in the early game, because Galio doesn't become very tanky in the early game. He doesn't do too much damage. He has okay base damages, but when he's taking the Aftershock, it is kind of gone. And especially if you factor in that the fact that Nocturne can actually dual Trundle if he is able to get out of the Frozen Domain. Frozen Domain gives Trundle the movement speed and the attack speed, but without that, Nocturne has the lethal tempo for him to be able to at least fight Trundle. It kind of depends on what camps they're taking and how healthy they are at the end of the clear, but I will agree that Werewolves on the bottom side of the map, Lucian Bomb should be able to do very well in this lane, though they did take exhaust, so they wouldn't have as much kill pressure. But in the top side, Red Tide's all pretty well off. Though I kind of do wish we would see Ahri with Ignite, which would be a little bit more lane pressure, but it's not too bad because that's just how it works with kind of base damages, especially with like Shen having the immense amount of base damages in the early game. But so we're gonna see the pause go through. We're done with the pause, and nothing else is gonna happen. But I think we're gonna be seeing some squatting happening here with a 5-man on both sides. Actually, Red Tide are gonna be looking to split up, while Royal Wolves are looking to stay as a pack.
Hello.
I'm gonna assume that they're looking to either Fnatic death push them
Uh-oh.
or just show up and kill somebody, which wouldn't actually be bad.
We might. Ooh.
Yeah, we're gonna see this little bit of a trade coming down in the bottom side of the map. You can never underestimate the power of the bomb. Level 1, and there's first blood going over to Bliss, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles early on.
That is such a good start off for Royal Wolves, though, because when they now that
Oh, some cheese is happening.
Bliss has that early lead. Oh no, not
Oh
yet.
no. Ooh, Spike's gonna eat a lot of damage coming in here. However, Phantasma and Steve are here. They aren't gonna go for the flash Q play, but Spike's gonna be down a health pot in that top lane. He should still have tempo priority due to the fact that it is a ranged champion and doing melee. But the fact that the Trundle is starting the game with an extra longsword might inhibit that early dueling potential that you mentioned about the Nocturne.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that dueling potential is gone now, but otherwise, the fact that Jinx has no flash is very important because Bliss is now able to gank bot lane on an immobile carry without flash, and that's very juicy.
Yeah, it does put a big old target on his back here to try to make some plays out in the early game. It's going to be interesting to see how these junglers will choose the path early on, especially considering neither really has real heavy gank presence.
Oh, we might actually see some action already in the jungle here as Henny and Hose is taking the red buff right now of Bliss.
Yeah, they're trying to sneak this steal as it looks like Bliss is just going to prioritize the Scuttle Crab. Might end up giving away his red buff. But early on, the Scuttle Crab has about the same XP as the buff, so he's not going to be terribly far behind. It's just not having that red buff will really inhibit his ability to actually try to trade in any of these fights at the top lane.
Uh-oh. The mid lane is the action.
Mid lane looks like action.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's everyone in the mid lane, but Bliss is level 3. We're going to see the taunt landing onto Henny, and Henny just donates that stolen red buff back to Bliss.
That was one of those moments where you're just sneaking past the guy. Where is this guy? And he's actually on the other side of the river, and you guys just passed each other. But
in the end, Bliss actually won the trade by dropping his red buff to Henny and Hose because he got basically the same amount of XP, still got the red buff, and he now has river control in the top side. So he's gotten some nice power by Bliss.
Blue did.
And I mean, the other thing about Trundle in the early game, you also have to remember his Chomp steals AD.
Yeah.
So you can never underestimate a duel against a Trundle just because that Chomp does always have that X factor in a trade. So Bliss is off to a very, very strong start. He's probably going to look to back and set up that T-Mat. Ends up stealing Henny's red buff, and it looks like we're going to see a 3v3 down in this bottom lane. But Henny and Hose is pigeonholed between a pillar in a hard place, and unfortunately, that means he doesn't have anywhere to go. Arctic Shock and Cutie Pie are going to be able to get out, but Henny's really not having a fun time. Blue's going to eat a fair bit of damage in the mid lane, more training in the top lane, but no real advantage coming in there.
Yeah, Henny and Hose is having a very unfortunate time right now. Tries to have a good early game and then ends up going 0-2 4 minutes in, which is very bad for him. And this is just a matter of the fact that he had made a slight miscalculation on his part. In the mid lane, that fight, he was actually only level 2 versus Bliss's level 3, and that's actually what caused. If he had the fear there, and of course to an extension of Blue that landed the Chomp, that would have been much better, but a gank in the bot lane.
Pillar is going to land onto Aftershock. Exhaust does come in. They are going to proc their concussive blows. Not quite enough damage, but the last auto coming in from Bliss, but they do get the trade kill back onto Steve the Wolf. Bliss eating so much damage. On more auto from Henny is going to get the return kill. However, then forward coming in for Promises, securing another kill back. Polymorph coming in onto Promises, but unfortunately there's just not enough damage as it's a double kill in the end over to Promises.
Well, I've seen I've seen enough games that Promises has played in to know where this is going. But Promise is a very good player. He's mostly a mid lane player, though he's playing AD carry on this team. But he is a very mechanical player, being able to like play matchups very well. And now that he's 3-0 with double buffs, I don't know if we'll see the kind of power spike that Jinx has, the IE, Runans, and maybe another item. I don't think we'll see that.
No, and that's actually not the typical build that we're seeing on Jinx, from my understanding. Is I generally see Jinxes rushing the Stormrazor, then go into Hurricane, and then go into Infinity Edge.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she'll have the timing window, because that's like a 9,000 gold build.
Yeah.
So you're looking at approximately 25-30 minutes, barring a lot of kills going over, and especially considering she's down 17 CS at this point in the game, it's not looking the greatest for the side of Red Tide. They're already down about 3,000 gold at the 6th minute.
And most of that's not even just the 4 kills that they picked up, it's just a differential in form. It's 20 CS in the bot lane, 20 CS in the top lane, and just a whole lot of gold in the jungle with all those kills going over to Bliss. So, ooh, not looking good already. It is going to be a Cloud Drake very early in this game, but you already see how much damage a red buff Lucian with Cutlass is doing to this to Ultic and Cutie Pie. So
that amount of damage is considered illegal in some countries.
Oh man. Imagine if he had Conqueror though.
I'm not a fan of Conqueror on Rage Champions unless it's Draven.
I like Conqueror on Lucian due to the fact that you're hitting multiple targets at once, and plus the attack only allows you to hit one target. It does give you better laning phase, but later in the game,
we are going to see a potential dive being set up here. They're needing to get this wave shoved because Bliss and Phantasma are here. There are pinks coming out, but I think it's just a little too late. You have Flash is available for Arctic.
Staying.
But
the staying.
I don't know why they are still here. Pyro's going to cut off Aftershock from Cutie Pie, and Aftershock's just going to get bursted down. A kill going over to Phantasma, deciding he once joined on the kill party. This should be first tower falling in the bottom lane at 7 minutes and 40 seconds coming in for the side of Royal Wolves.
Yeah, and Royal Wolves are just going to extend the gold lead. A little bit of a mishap there by the Hero's Entrance, but Bliss ultimately going to... Actually, I don't even think it was Bliss, but... Yeah, they made a good rotate down, though Phantasma does sacrifice a little bit of farm. They get first hurt, dragon, and a kill. I mean, that's a worth trade in my book. 4k gold ahead now.
Yeah, it's... Go ahead.
So right now what Bliss is actually trying to do is actually really good because they already know that top lane is going to win, like no matter what, just by the CS lead. So they're snowballing bot lane and mid lane because jungle's basically already won. So what they're trying to do is take the lead that Bliss got in the jungle and just push it so far ahead that Red Tide can't do anything about it.
And to be honest, it might already be that point. It's almost 9 minutes into the game. Henny is still not level 6. Not having that paranoia available is really inhibiting his ability to try to make any plays on the map. The one bright spot right now for the side of Red Tide is they do have a fairly large CS lead in the mid lane with Blue due to that roam coming in from Phantasma, but they really need to try to take that advantage and try to get one of these side lanes back into the game.
I don't think the lead that Bluedit has is going to mean too much because, like, Oi is an assassin, and you really can't assassinate anybody when the Lucian can 1v1 you. And basically when everybody on the enemy team are very strong and they have the defensive measures such as the Hero's Entrance and the bomb. So this lead that Bluedit has probably means little to nothing, especially like an Oi that's behind in respective to the enemy team, of course, doesn't do much. It's very hard to do things, especially when she doesn't have Ignite and does not have Electrocute, which is helpful for assassinations.
I was trying to provide some semblance of positivity for Red Tide, and then you just threw it into the garbage.
Well, good news for Red Tides, they're getting dived. Oh wait.
Team Jack is all by himself. Does get a nice 2-man taunt is going to buy a tiny bit of time. Bliss is eating a lot of tower shots, is going to be able to get out, though. Paranoia is going in on the bottom side of the map, but just doesn't matter. Promise is too strong on this Lucian. It's just going to end up being a triple kill more than likely for him. Nope, Steve ends up securing one of the kills. Flash forward, one more auto coming in. Promise is securing the kill. Blue Edit has roamed down, but it's just too little too late.
So, Red Tide got literally nothing off of that trade, and they lost 4 people. So, that doesn't explain this game right now. I don't know what does.
Yeah, this game is looking to be very bad in favor of Red Tide, and to put it simply, the only hope that Red Tide has is Arctic Shock. If Arctic Shock is able to make at least 2 items, if he's able to farm for maybe 10 more minutes safely, and not follow Henny and Hose, because they were farming pretty well in the bot lane, though they were taking a little bit of poke damage, until Honey and Hose shows up. He tried to force something on the bot lane that was very strong, and ended up getting punished for it. And,
I mean, it's more than 10 minutes. It's like 15 minutes of farming, and Arctic Shock's just dead.
No,
Never mind. Good guy support.
It's good guy cutie.
Good guy cutie is deciding that the shock from Arctic should continue for just a little bit longer here, as he is going to be able to just stay in this bottom lane, try to secure some CS under tower. And Henny and Hose is a little bit out of position. Charmed is laying onto Bliss. He is a little squishy. Fear is going to buy a little bit of time, but Steve the Wolf and Promises have rotated over Blue. Headed, not enough damage. Stand United is going to come in as well as Heroes entrance, but there's just not enough damage. Rocket coming in, getting shut down onto Promises. Arctic Shock is excited, is not able to get in range, gets another reset, does have the red buff available. Can he get the charm? Slow does come in Bliss with a little bit of BM, but that helps a lot because that gets Arctic Shock slightly back into the game.
Yeah, he got the shutdown gold on Lucian, 650 gold, plus probably a turret in this mid lane. Not looking too bad. Actually, does not even have enough gold to buy Stormlaser, unfortunately, but will be able to buy a few things to help him get back into the lead.
Oh, jeez. This is just, oh no. This whole thing is a mess right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean,
definitely
it's
the play that Red Tide has been looking for the past 12 minutes. So, here's another one.
Yeah, we are going to have a little bit of engagement. Cutie Pie just gets blown off the face of the map by Promises.
Like always.
I mean, he has lost like 600 LP in like a week and a half, so...
Oh no, we don't bring up bad memories.
Too late. As Spike gets a kill onto Henny, we're going to see this mid lane tier 2 fall here in just a moment once Shelly decides she wants to ram that big old head into that tower. That's going to be another tower falling. Bliss is going to walk out of the chompers. They're trying to defend this tower, but there's just too much damage. Promises is going to dash forward. Cutlass, and that's just a dead Jinx here. We're going to see the flash shot coming in from Phantasma. So much damage coming in. Paranoia is going to come in, but it just doesn't matter. He's going to go in. Is going to not secure the kill onto Promises. He just goes in and dies. But unfortunately, the only thing Red Tide has seen this game is a gray screen. It's not even a red shift. It's just a gray screen.
This might be one of the fastest games we've seen so far. Last game was 23 minutes long. This 14 minutes and breaking the base of Red Tide, looking for the Nexus.
Yeah, the Demon Jack is doing a fair bit of damage. Ignite is on the Spike. So much damage coming in though with the Nova Flare coming in from Spike. Dash coming in, not quite enough damage going on to Demon Jack. Fear is going to land onto Promises. Promises is going to die to the comeback on the Orb of Deception. Spike trying to get out. Charm Dismiss is going to get chased down eventually here, I think. Nope, they are going to abandon the chase, and I just think this game hits 20 minutes. It's a miracle.
Abandon ship, abandon the Red Tide.
Alright, I feel like we've hit a point where this game has been lost quite a while ago.
Hey, I mean, they were looking okay with that one fight, and then kind of got swept up by the Tide.
That has to be the weirdest use of stopwatch I've ever seen.
I think they're secure in their position, whether positive or negative, at the status of this game here. We're going to see another Drake going over to the side of Royal Wolves, which is the blue buff going over to Phantasma, and it's just a matter of time here before the end of the game ends up coming in here, and it's just been not the greatest of performances coming in from the side of the Red Tide, to say the least.
Well, on the good news, Arctic Shock almost has completed his first item.
He is about 400 gold from completing it, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think it's about 1,000 gold of the combined cost.
Well, he's almost completed the first item to Promises too, which is good news, kind of.
Promises is a long way from his third item, so. But he has his red buff, he has his Essence Reaver, he has his Blade of the Rune King. They're going to escort the Super Minions into the base, try to set up the Nexus push already. I think it would be a little bit better if they just went for bottom lane. We are going to have the Paranoia for Henny and O's to get back out of position. 79 coming in. Nice Glacial Fisher. So much damage going in onto Blue Head and I'm a Cutie Pie. They're just able to survive. No, Promise is going in with the Flash Run. Securing the kill on the backside. So much damage. Artifox is the only one alive, not able to scoop kill onto Promises. And this is going to be the end of the game at about 17 minutes coming in for the side of Royal Wolves, and Red Tide is out like high tide in the middle of the day or something. I don't know. I've had jokes.
The Wolves go for the jugular on an inanimate object and apparently succeed.
Well, that's just, it's like I'm casting Rampage again.
Oh my god.
That was interesting.
Games are fast. I rarely get to talk because all they're doing is fighting. Like, what is this?
All right, guys. Well, it looks like Red Tide and Out of Mana are looking for a new jungler. So if anybody wants to sign up, but yeah, both Out of Mana and Red Tide were looking for the Nocturne jungle, and unfortunately were not able to find success on those champions. And perhaps both these teams will have to go back to the drawing board, but for Royal Wolves, they will be continuing their kind of rampage to the top, trying to get back that the trophy that they won last season, and they're looking very well to do so.
I just want to quickly note, Promises almost did 1,000k damage a minute in a 16-minute game.
Yeah, he was doing lots of damage. I think 950. If I don't know, quick math.
He had 15k. He had like 15.5k in 16, just under 17 minutes. So pretty close to about 1k damage a minute. Unfortunately, though, everyone, that is our final game of the night here at OverDrive League. Please stay tuned as we are going to have more OverDrive League here action here. So, on Monday, I believe, is the next day.
Yeah, Monday will be our Plat League. It's taking place the same time, 7 p.m. Central Time. I think, the first game of the night will be BMOS Commandos versus Forsaken Dreams. Another game, two teams that we saw pretty well going off last week. So, with that being said, do you guys have any last things to say?
I like short games.
I agree.
I feel like I shouldn't have had jalapeno Pringles for this.
Yeah, totally take his advice too. Never have jalapeno
just
Pringles.
Try to not have like a jalapeno flavored thing or like anything hot while trying to cast, because it is not worth it.
Oh my god. Otherwise, on behalf of all of the OverDrive staff, we thank you for tuning in on the cast and apologize for the problems that arose today. Otherwise, for us, that will be it.
Toodles.